You know when you have one of those ideas that seem good at the time? Like, oh, I should do viewer PC reviews, because I think it would be cool to have an intimate look at the kind of systems that you use. Kind of like a PC equivalent of Antiques Roadshow, I guess. And then I got a submission which was way too intriguing to ignore with its semi-obscured flirtatious photos of whatever's going on over there. However, when I got it into the office, I realized I may have gotten a bit more than I bargained for. I mean, just look at this thing. It's barely been in the office a couple hours and it's already started terraforming the local ecosystem. However, before we have a look at this PC spawned in Mount Doom, it's time for today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Thermaltake and their Tower 100 series of ITX cases that come in a fancy assortment of colors so that you can easily match it with your dog. The Tower 100 cases come with a butt ton of ventilation so that your system doesn't have to run hot. There's also plenty of space for a big GPU, a tower cooler, and even a normal ATX power supply. Other than that, you've got 3 tempered glass panels so that you have like a display case with your little gaming PC in it, which looks awesome. If this looks good to you, check out the Thermaltake Tower 100 linked in the description below. Thank you Thermaltake for sponsoring today's video. Now, in order to more easily refer to this PC over the course of this video, I am going to be giving it a name. And considering that it looks like how I imagine the inside of Matthew McConaughey's jockstrap looks like, I'm going to be calling this system the McConnnehay. Now, the main thing that concerns me about the McConnnehay, aside from the fact that it just generally looks like it was recently dug out from under centuries worth of natural sediment, is the state of the side panel. Now you may be thinking, Dawid, this side panel doesn't look any more grotesque than the rest of the PC. But Matthew McConnehay was saying that he runs the system without the side panel on, which means the side panel ended up in this condition without even being attached to the PC. Like, how did that happen? But anyway, that definitely means that we're gonna need some Velida action for this video. Okay, so now that I've got my protection on, we can get into the parts breakdown. Now, as far as the case goes, I'm pretty sure this is a first generation Cooler Master CM690 with a DVD drive in the front. Around the back, well, there's a lot going on back here. I think that there may be a fan underneath all of this growth that's happening up here. Although aside from that, we do have a very interesting rear I/O for a motherboard here. I don't know what motherboard we're going to be working with. Oh, the fact that I need to sneeze is so concerning because it means I'm sneezing out this disgusting PC. Oh no, that's... Now, in terms of the graphics card, it has what looks like 2 mini DisplayPort outs, which it's interesting. We also have an Ethernet card and a sound card, and what are some of the most unkept liquid cooling buttholes I think I've ever seen. And then finally, we have a power supply with an unbelievably chunky switch. Oh, listen to that switch. That is amazing. And on that note, it's time to open up this system and see how many yet to be discovered species of animal are living in here. Oh, that's really stuck on that. Oh. Oh, no way. Is that a bottle cap in here? And there's another one in here that's kind of made a nest for itself, and it's also seemed to collect some money. Wow, the money actually looks weirdly clean. I'm just gonna put that back. Now, once you get over the fact that there's likely enough human skin in this system to build an entirely new person out of, and I guess new probably isn't the right word, more like a used person. But anyway, once you get over that fact, and the fact that the cables look less managed and more exploded inside of McConnnehay here, there's actually a really dope PC under all of that. The motherboard, for example, is a Gigabyte X58OC, which is just a primo-ass X58 board. To put into perspective just how fancy this motherboard is, if it was a person, it would own a holding company that owns a company that launches penis rockets into space, and it would primarily wipe its ass with swan necks. You know a motherboard's serious when it's got that many buttons on it and soldering points. Damn. And then look at this power supply. It's a 1000 watt 80 plus platinum Seasonic unit. This thing is a complete beefcake. Oh! Now interestingly, the reason Matthew McConnehay gave for this amazing power supply is that he did a whole bunch of folding at home with the system for the NCIX team, and at a point, he actually had 3 graphics cards in this system, all collecting dead skin. So yeah, that's why he invested in this just insane power supply. And then under the CPU cooler, there is an Intel i7-980, which was a Herculean 6-core chip in a generation full of quad cores. And actually, the more I look around this system, the more I think that this heinous abomination that is the cable management is actually kind of justified in this case, because, well, the motherboard tray is raised and there is a grommet for motherboard power to go up through the top. The problem is just that these cables are quite chunky and the motherboard tray is barely lifted. So I actually don't think that this cable has any other route that it can take to the CPU power. And then also in terms of this pile, there isn't much that you can do about it, because I guess you can hide some of it back here, but this is just an old difficult case to cable manage, and it kind of makes sense that it turned out like this. By that I mean the cable management, not the small animal that's growing on the cables. RAM-wise, we've got 3 Mushkin sticks, which, I don't know, Mushkin's brand name has always, it just feels really dirty to say, for some reason. Mushkin. The sticks do seem to be mismatched, but they look like they're quite sexy. Mushkin sticks. And then graphics card wise, under this cocoon of discarded human, we have an R9 280, which with its 3 gigs of frame buffer may struggle a bit with modern games. And I am actually very excited to see how that graphics card holds up these days. Actually, just generally this system, considering that this PC new is what baby Dawid wet dreams were made of. Now, for privacy reasons, I did ask Matthew McConnehay to remove his hard drives from the McConnnehay, because, you know, I don't want to accidentally steal his identity or whatever. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to sacrifice one of my SSDs to this hellscape. I'm sorry, buddy, but you're the chosen one for this terrible expedition. Okay, so first thing I guess is to fish the SATA cable out of the bottle cap's nest. And then we're just gonna have to pick a SATA power cable, I guess. Oh, I'm not plugging that bit in, because that's I don't wanna. Oh, okay, well most of it's come off, so maybe it's okay. Maybe we can use this bit. Just kind of dust it off a bit, and then we can plug it in here, and then I'll kind of wedge it in like that so that it can touch as little of its surroundings as possible. Okay, it's time to power it up. Hopefully it doesn't fart out a cloud of flesh-eating bacteria like the last dirty PC I had to look at. There we go. Ooh, it's got like disgusting bicycle streamers around the back. Oh, look at that BIOS. Now, on the note of this BIOS, it may look like something written in 1923, but considering that this was an extreme overclocking motherboard, the BIOS does have comprehensive settings for overclocking. Look at all them overclocking features. Has experienced boot failures because of overclocking or changed voltages. I'm not going to change any of this stuff because I don't want to play around with overclocking someone else's PC, like that feels a bit weird. It does seem like it's reverted it to its stock frequencies here. Now there's no point making fun of the Windows install because, well, it's mine. So let's have a look at what kind of speeds the stuff is running at. Okay, well here we have our 980, which is an awesome CPU, and then our 12 gigs of unknown speed 400 megahertz. Oh no, what's happening here? 66, yeah, it's running at the base frequency. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do some performance tests, and then I'll ask Matthew McConnehay if it's fine for me to re-enable the XMP profiles for the RAM and see what kind of performance difference that makes. Now the first game we're trying, as always, is GTA 5. This is at 1080p high settings, I think. Gaming with Velita gloves on is just so hard. Oh, yeah, see. I keep accidentally pressing key. No, I didn't mean to press the... okay, I'm just... Nope. Okay, there we go, that's better. Yeah, this is fine. 1080p, and we're getting above 60 frames per second. It's holding up okay. Interestingly though, we do seem to be having a bottleneck going on here. Like you can see that the GPU's not maxed out and the CPU's also not maxed out. I think it is maybe the RAM speed. I mean, in all fairness, the CPU is only running at 3.5 gigahertz. Now next, I thought I'd try Doom Eternal to see how this runs. The game wouldn't let me apply any higher than low at 1080p because of the 3 gig frame buffer. And it makes sense because we're already running into that frame buffer. Ooh, there is a bit of input lag here. There are moments of clarity where the input lag kind of clears up. Ooh, and we are also getting some visual artifacting happening as well. Oh, there is a lot of artifacting. Ooh, Doom does not like this PC very much. Wow, this really does run surprisingly similarly to that Acer Loser Nitro Suckface edition from the previous video. Although the temperatures are quite a lot higher with Battlefield 5. And that's probably why Matthew McConaughey runs this system without the side panel on. Okay, the CPU's getting too hot for my liking. Just gotta put my Valida back on and then let's see how much opening it up helps.
A few moments later.
Yeah, I'd say it's helping. Maybe. And then finally, I just want to see how Kitty Night runs. This is at 1080p competitive settings. If it runs anything like that Acer Loser Nitro Suckface Edition PC, it's not going to be too bad. I mean, honestly, it runs fine. Like, it's perfectly usable. There are some visual glitches going on, as you can see here. I've never seen Fortnite do that before. But aside from stutters and visual glitches, it runs fine. You know, it's perfectly usable. And then finally, I thought we just need to really abuse this system and see what happens with Cyberpunk 2077. Wow, we are really hovering around that cinematic frame rate that everybody is so excited about. This is not going too great. I think Cyberpunk is pretty much out of the question. Although, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense for Matthew McConaughey to game at 24 frames per second. Now at this point, I messaged Mr. McConaughey and asked him if it was fine for me to enable XMPs on the system to see what kind of performance effect it had, and he said go ahead. The problem was, I couldn't get the system to boot at any speed higher than 1333 megahertz. I tried just enabling the XMP profiles, that didn't work. I then tried to manually set the frequency with the timings, and that also didn't work. I spent quite a long time playing around in the BIOS and I just couldn't get the system to boot at any faster speed than that, which meant unfortunately I couldn't test the performance difference that would make in this system. Which sadly brings us to the end of our time with the McConaughey. Thank you very much, Mr. McConaughey, for graciously letting me use the McConaughey for this video. And yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video, bye bye.